Hi, thanks so much for joining Salpo's webinar today on streamlining your product management. We're going to take a look at building and managing a streamlined product catalog, managing and selling your products using the Salpo interface with just the standard Salpo product catalog, Dear and Ability. Neither going into detail with Dear and Ability, but you can check out our YouTube channel if you want to look a little bit more further into how to use both of those integrations. We're also going to take a look at creating custom quotes and orders and how to then sync that to create your invoices in Xero whilst using Salpo, so that's all through integrations as well. Capturing and manipulating product properties per line item, so when you're creating your quotes, you have the ability to customize each order. And then lastly, we're going to take a look at reporting on your purchase history, some lapsed customers, and basically how to structure your reports to start acting on that data and get some business intelligence out of it. So let's get started. So when I log into Salpo, I have my dashboard, and this is kind of that end result, dream goal, what you want to see. So if I am running some of these reports, purchase history, looking at lapsed customers and things like that, I can create widgets of those reports and put it onto my dashboard. So this will be the last thing that we're looking at to kind of come full circle in this webinar. But let's first start looking at building and managing your product catalog. So when I'm in Salpo, I can actually jump into my control panel and build out my product catalog. Now, if I'm using Dear, I'm going to be building my products, and same with Ability, I'm going to be using those or building those product catalogs within those tools. You can create non-Dear or Ability products though. So let's say it's not something tangible that you're selling, it's actually a service instead. And you want to capture that within Salpo because it's not included in your Dear or Ability catalog. You can be creating those as well as you're using the Dear and Ability products. You don't have to do one or the other, or just you can use them both at the same time. So when I set up and I'm creating orders in Ability or Dear, I have a product picker, and we'll take a look at that. And that's what's then pulling the product information into Salpo. It's as I'm creating the order, which then builds out a historical kind of product catalog within Salpo. So you're seeing the start of those different categories in the products that would populate within that here now. If I wanted to manually create a product category and product in Salpo, I just come to the product type section in Salpo, and I can add custom fields, or I can add an individual product by using this add option. I'm going to make sure I close out my Skype now, just so that we don't have to worry about that popping up again. Okay. So now it's about, now that I've created these different product categories, and again, you just use this add option and it will ask you these questions of, well, how do you want this product to interact in the system? Can it be connected to modules? Can it be connected to contacts directly? And in the use case of that sort of thing, it will always be able to be connected to the opportunity module. But when we're asking about modules here, it's asking, do you want to be connected to any of the other modules that you're using in the system? A use case reference of connecting it to your contact is, instead of that product being your of something that you're purchasing, or sorry, something that you're providing as a service, it's instead something that you're purchasing. So when you're actually going instead to then purchase that product, you may want to connect that product directly to your supplier instead of connecting it only within the opportunity. So that's what the difference means there. So let's go ahead now that we've looked at building out the categories, what it would look like if you're adding in a product and creating custom fields against it. So the standard typical fields that come against a product within Salpo are things like your tax rate, your quantity, your the description, SKU code, sell cost, buy cost, all those sorts of standard product information fields. Whereas you can also create custom fields against some of these products so that you can capture any additional information as needed. The Ability integration offers you a little bit of extended functionality in that you can create custom fields against the product to be filled out when you're adding it against the opportunity as well. So instead of just your product pricing information, as you're adding it in as a light item, you're allowed to create additional custom fields within that connection so that you can build upon that, knowing that the telecoms industry is very complex, and when they're building out those orders for minutes, payment options, when something should be billed, how the different lines, faults against those different lines, SLAs, all those sorts of things. We're capturing that individually per line item so that it can be tracked successfully based off of any of those contractual needs. That functionality is not currently available when adding Deer and standard Salpo products, though. So it is custom to the Ability integration. So now let's have a look at what, let's say I've now added this product, whether it's from Deer, Ability, or manually created in Salpo as your product catalog. Every product has its own profile page. So just like contacts and any other module records page, the product has the exact same functionality and features. And that over on the right-hand side, you've got your standard information over here. So like your product details, and this is where you're setting up your sell price, cost price, billing cycle, anything like that to start tracking. And again, all of these different fields are reportable. So if I wanted to then come to a product list view page, and let's say, so this is a water cooler. Now let's say I want to look at a list view page of all of my water coolers, and I wanted to report to say, show me all that are connected to an opportunity that we've sold within the last year. Maybe I want to see which products aren't selling, or maybe which products are selling more. I can start using all those different fields and connections to see how have they worked. So, or how successful are they being? And maybe even show me everything that didn't have a price increase within the last year. So maybe we want to look at increasing the price of this, or what's our customer interaction with this product so far. And I can do that by looking at the connections between contacts and opportunities, or if you have selected to connect those products to the different modules, you'll see them listed here as well. So, and then under the more option is where you get to filter based around all the different custom fields that are associated with that product category. And again, if you connected it with Deer or Ability, based upon the different functionality there, you may have different field options. When you're setting up the Deer integration, you are given the option to pick and choose all the different Deer fields that are available from the Deer product catalog. And if you have selected any of those, you will see them listed out here as well to filter and use. So then what's it look like when I'm adding a product to an opportunity or a sale? So if I've added a standard kind of Salpo product, it will feature under the standard connection dropdown. If I'm using any Ability or Deer products, I'd see them listed here as well. But this is just a standard one for like maintenance. So it's not something tangible. But this would be something like, let's say you're providing a service or going in and doing a consult versus, or like with Salpo, we do onboarding, but then we have the tangible project or product of a subscription. So that's the kind of difference of where I might see that. And so the billing frequency on something like a maintenance or a consult would be a one-off. So when I'm adding those different products into the system, in order to do that, I'm clicking this add drop-down and then adding a product. And depending upon which systems I have Ability and Deer set up in this system. So I'm going to have the option to choose from a Salpo product, a Deer product, and an Ability product. So when this loads, I'm going to be able to select my products from the different varying catalogs that I have in as available to me. So if I want to pick my products from Deer, I would select there. If I want to pick my products from Ability or Salpo, I choose those different options. And so in this instance, I was selecting from Salpo, so I had the maintenance option there. My Deer is out of date, so that's why I'm showing that in here. But if I wanted to connect to my, let's say, Ability and choose which products I'm coming from in here, it automatically opens up this up box for me, and I'm going to search for my product in here. I think I have something called the DSL. Yep. So, and I would choose that product, and based on the different fields that are already stored within Ability, it will pre-populate this information. That same functionality happens when selecting a product from Gear or if I'm selecting that product from Salpo. So based on those custom fields that you've set up on that product's profile page, it will pre-populate this so that it's just less data entry that your team's having to do. If you've been negotiating with the client and they have additional you've had to negotiate the pricing, or the tax rate's going to vary, or the frequency instead of the standard, which is monthly, maybe the frequency is going to be annual based off of how you've negotiated this. You have the option to then switch and choose these different fields as available so that you can input that information for yourself. So this is how you're now customizing creating these custom kind of quotes and product elements and manipulating that product properties per line item. So I can add in my contract start date, some notes, some CLI information, some SLA data based around what SLAs I have set up, and add in all the different fields that are associated with adding that product to my order. So if I'm looking at a Deer order, I'm going to have a series of my listed out products here. I can see the quantities I'd added in, my sale price, and just this general kind of overview of all the different products I've added into the system. If I'm looking then at a Deer tab, once I've created the order, and we'll jump back into the how I'm creating an order, Deer also provides me with an extra tab in the system so that I can see a summary of what that order looks like. So we'll jump back into that in a moment. But ultimately, when I'm looking at my different products, once I've added a few, this is the screen that I would look at. And this can be a mixture of my Ability and my Salpo and my Deer products that I've added into the system if I'm needing to do so. So how do I now create an order? Next step of what I'm going to do is jumping into this add dropdown. And if I'm going to create a Deer order, I'd click on create order here. If I'm going to sync this with Ability, I'm going to sync this with Ability. If I'm in, well, let's show you that functionality. So if I sync with Ability here, it's going to throw up some errors just because you have to have a requirement of Ability is that you have to have this contact with a short name. So it's letting me know that on this contact of Morissette Vet Hospital, on that contact profile page, I don't have a short name. Ability works slightly differently in that I've got sites in, so essentially this would be a site in their terminology versus an actual contact. And then I would need an overall company name, so the parent of who my client is. And then here's my site information, it's an address. So once I've added that information in, I just hit update and it generates that order, or it's a service in the Ability system. And again, if you have any queries onto how to use Deer and Ability more directly, you can jump to our YouTube channel to watch webinars and kind of product reviews based off of both of those integrations. But let's say I'm not using Deer or Ability. I just want to use the standard Salpo product catalog and building out my adding products into the system and things like that. And then I just want to then come back later and mark this as a one opportunity. So I'm not really generating a proper order. All I have to do is come over to, I'm going to reopen this and mark this. If it's not been marked won or lost yet, you'll see these options to say it's been won or lost. And depending on your sales cycle as to when you mark an order as won, you might be marking it won once the invoice has been received and paid. You may be marking it won once you receive the purchase order. You may be marking it won is prior to that when you've done the handshake sort of deal. So it just depends on your sales cycle as to when you're marking this won. But if I come to market one, that's then me creating the order within Salpo. We don't have a specific screen that says mark this as one. But then here I can just input my close date and then the overall close value. And to keep things simple, you can just total up what the line items are based off of all the different products that you've added to that opportunity. And then as soon as you hit save, it will now mark this opportunity as one. So let's say in that process, though, you have some negotiating going back and forth with manipulating a quote. You can actually create custom quotes, orders, invoices, and all that within Salpo as well. So if I'm then creating a quote in Salpo, that's not the right screen, I can come under my control panel and there will be a section in the admin part that's called template. So this is me now building out a template within Salpo. And you'll see here that I've added some text boxes, or I've created this layout where you see these 3 generalized blocks here. I put an image in one, left one blank, put some text content in one. And then I built out what I want my quote to look like. So then when I'm on an opportunity, I can actually generate this document and it will pull the products into that document. So and then it will save it as a PDF against that opportunity. So I can email that off to the customer to review and approve. So then that's when I'd be getting that approval process back to then marking the order as one. But again, it depends on your sales cycle as to when you're sending some of these documents. Maybe you don't send quotes out, but you send a final confirmation of order document. If there's something that's standardized that you are sending to customers, you can build that out within Salpo and then do it directly from that opportunity screen so that you're not having to navigate in and out of different systems. So if I want to then create that document, I come to this add option. So once it's been created in the control panel, and I just hit generate document here, and it will open up, and then it will ask me, well, which template do you want to use? So if I've generated or created multiple templates against an opportunity to be available, then I'd see that drop-down selection here, and I just pick which one I want to choose, and then it populates as a PDF file here against the opportunity, which then makes it very transparent as to what's gone back and forth to the client. It's already pre-attached in here, and everyone has access to it as needed. If let's say the customer comes back and says, oof, we weren't sure about that price, we want to change the quantity on one of the products that we've set up, you can jump back into the product listing that you have against this opportunity, update that product line item and change the quantity or the pricing. So during that whole negotiation process, all those fields from when you're adding that product, they're not set in stone. You can jump back in and change them, update them, remove them, and then generate a new quote and send it off to the customer for review and approval. And that's how you're customizing and tailoring these quotes and documents as you're using them. And we recommend that you maintain keeping a historical reference of all those different quotes that are going back and forth. But if you only want to leave the main finalized quote on here, you can come in here and delete or edit this information. So editing it just changes your label, really. But if you wanted to remove it off the system so that the historical quotes or the different versions of the quote are no longer showing, you can delete them. And it does save a bit of storage space for you. So next is looking at invoices. So a great workflow option is starting off and building these quotes and orders, but then also tracking that invoice information that's stored against the opportunity. So let's say I've created, and Deer does a fabulous job in maintaining that workflow, and that if I've created my order, I put it into Deer. Deer is also synced with Xero. So if it gets to an invoice stage in Xero, and they are tracking payments from within there, because this customer is synced with Xero, so I've come into Salpo and on that customer's profile page, I've synced them with Xero. I'm going to get a summary of their total values. If I've created the invoice directly from the opportunities page, I'm going to get this line item summary here as well. So that's just me coming in and hitting create invoice. And then it's going to pop up and show a listing of the different products that are included on this order. I'm going to have the invoice date and due date, and then I just hit create. And this instantaneously creates an invoice within Xero. And I get to pick and choose which products I want to include on that invoice. And when you're setting up your Xero invoice, you get to define if you want that invoice to go in as awaiting approval or if it should be approved. So if you want there to be some kind of hierarchy as to the manager approving something, or so something just doesn't go automatically off to the customer to be sent off to collect payment, you can put it into this bucket in Xero so that it waits for approval. So then it moves through that hierarchy And there's just a little bit of control as to what's pushing out into your customers between the accounts team and the sales team. So as soon as I've created this invoice, it pushes off into Xero, and that's when I'm then seeing the record of it listed here against the opportunity. And that's typically also, so you may be doing that via Deer, and like generating your invoice directly from within Deer. And in that case, you wouldn't see this line item here. It's just going to show against the customer's profile. If you're generating the invoice against the opportunity, but you're not using Deer or Ability, so you're generating that invoice based off of using just Salpo products, you would see this line item here because that's the typical workflow that you'd use. You'd add products from your Salpo product catalog against your opportunity, and then you'd create your invoice. Since Deer does that functionality within their system as well, you're just getting the copy back against the customer. So no matter if you're using Ability, Deer, or the Salpo products, you will have a Xero summary page on your contacts profile page, which shows a history listing of all the different orders that contact has made with your organization, account balance overview, any overdue amounts, and then you see again those historical transactions. So you can see what's due on each one. If it's connected to a specific opportunity, you have the hyperlink here so that you can jump directly to that opportunity. But this is just a great, easy way for the sales team to get visibility as to what's still outstanding and what's going on with the customer. Or even if they're placing a bunch of different orders, but they haven't paid any of their other payments, it may be a good time to approach a customer and say, before we place this next order, we need you to complete payment on these outstanding orders, especially if that due date's passed. So it's a great way to kind of cater those conversations without giving your sales team access to the account's details. If I am an accounts details user, though, I do have an access point here that will then direct me into Xero, and I can jump right into Xero and update that information as needed. So lastly, we're going to have a look at reporting on purchase history and lapsed customers and things like that. So now that I've got all this product information and against my opportunities, what are ways that I can use it? And I'd say typically our customers are using that information to track lapsed customers, or which products are most successful, or how frequently things are being purchased. So an example of one of these type reports is going to be coming to the contact list view page. And whenever I'm creating a report, I'm always going to start it off with saying, well, what do I want to see? So if I want to see all of my contacts who order from us monthly that haven't ordered within the last month, I'm going to set up my filter that looks like this. So I'm going to say, show me all of my organization who are connected to an opportunity that's been won, so this is all of my customers who have ordered from us previously, or all of my contacts that have ordered from us previously, but they're not connected to an order within the last month. So to show you what that filter looks like, I've hit between, and I'm going to say relative to today, so 1 month before today up through to today. And then I'm going to use this not option to say, well, that haven't ordered within the last month. And then this is my results. So these are my contacts, potentially, that that are supposed to be ordering monthly that haven't submitted their order yet this month. So maybe I want to follow up with them and just push them. They're like, hey, don't forget to submit your order this month. So that information starts to become quite powerful. I can also filter by any other connections, like a specific product. So if I wanted to say, show me all of my contacts that are connected to that water cooler that we were looking at earlier, that ordered a water cooler within the last year. And maybe I only have a couple of results that come up. And so that might show that product hasn't been quite successful. Or if I wanted to say, and maybe we think about phasing it out. Or if we see that one product is highly successful, maybe we want to offer some support maintenance packages that go around it, or a campaign for add-on products that complement that product as well. So you can really start building out some marketing influential information based off of these filters and using the different connections. So that connections option, so if I just get rid of that drop down here, I can use this and say, well, show me how it's connected to a specific opportunity, but I also get a listing of any of my products in here as well. And that's inclusive of any of my gear products, my ability products, or my custom Salpo products. And I can filter based off of that information, which makes it quite powerful and great. So thanks so much for attending today's webinar on streamlining your product management. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to our support team at support@salpo.com. They'd be happy to run through any specific use case examples for you, or assist with setting up your system, answer any questions that you have. If you have any feedback about what you're looking for, integration you're after, things like that, please don't hesitate to reach out to the marketing@salpo.com team. But either way, if you reach out to either one, a team member will get back to you to assist. So thanks so much, and we look forward to speaking soon.